We say, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with a live stream. It is day 3 of conference week, and here to talk Pac 12 football, of course, myself, but a very special guest making practically his debut on the channel here from Exploring with Ben and Sam. Uh, this is Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going, man? I appreciate you doing this with me.
Oh, again, no problem at all. I always love to talk football. Got to be a diehard to be a Pac-12 fan.
Yeah. So you mentioned to me just before the stream started, you're an Oregon fan. Talk about that, just how you became a Oregon fan, and ultimately your love for college football.
Well, I'm from Oregon. I grew up outside Portland and Gresham, so it's kind of been a family tradition, a little mixture of Beavers and Ducks. So it's kind of a little bit of a even family rivalry, a little bit. Uh, and yeah, I don't know. I've always loved football. That's just my sport. That's what I watch. I just get bored with most other things. Uh, so I'm just hoping for another good season and hopefully no letdowns. It's tough to be a Ducks fan sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the big things I've been talking about this week, and I've wanted to ask it about each conference with everyone that I've had on, is obviously the 12 team playoff expansion. And then there's all these different changes to all these different conferences. Not much change in the Pac 12 from what I understand, but what what is the impact on the Pac 12, do you think, with all the other like playoff and conference realignment?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, because you look at even like we knew last year, Texas and Oklahoma leaving Big 12, that has a huge impact on the Big 12 power wise, but also just Texas and Oklahoma competing in the SEC. The Pac-12, they just got rid of the divisions. So
Yeah.
now, it's not going to be North versus South. Technically, it's going to be actually the best two teams competing for the championship. So the higher team, won't lose to a 6-6 team. But with a playoff expansion, that definitely opens the door for more teams and conferences to potentially get represented as long as they don't trip and fall, as a lot of teams do late in the year. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think we'll really see what will really happen or the effects of it until I think probably year 2 or 3. Then we'll kind of get a feel of like, oh, it's going to be this again, or it's going to go this way, or kind of like with the playoffs. We've
Yeah.
had a couple of years of 2 SEC teams, and we're kind of going, okay, it's going to be 2 SEC teams a lot of times. But it took a couple of years to see that. So
Yeah, because imagine real quick, we get to the time for the 12 team playoffs, and we get 12 teams in. If the Pac 12 doesn't make it the first couple years or so, maybe I say give it the first two. Is it really that big of a deal, or are you looking at, okay, by year 3 or 4 of this, if Oregon, if USC, if even Utah, who's looking like a really good team, isn't making it, um, then there's probably some issues where you're saying, okay, what's going on with the Pac-12? They can't get through.
well, yeah, that, and again, how is the playoff being selected? I know there's always been the ideas of each conference championship gets a spot, maybe the group of five, top group of five, and then you know two at large. But who's deciding who's at large? Is it the highest rated ranking, just regardless of conference, or that's I think that's going to be the bigger question, because if every Power Five conference, the championship champion, no matter what, gets in, then you're going to have representation. But
Yeah.
I think that depends on the fine details of that, and I'm not sure if anyone's ever discussed exactly, obviously, because they haven't committed fully to the expansion, obviously, yet, because the contract goes till 2025. Is it
I think so.
2025? I think is the 14 playoff contract right now, something like that. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting this season. We're going to hear a lot of talk about it, and we're going to hear more ideas about how they select them. We're just going to have to go. But yeah, after a year or two, if the Pac-12 was left out again with an expanded playoff, yeah, then we'd be needing to. Well, the conference would have to really be looking at themselves, not the playoff, but the conference is what we're doing wrong. Because, I mean, we're beating ourselves at that point, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can expand the playoffs all you want to, but I mean, you got to look at coaching. You got to look at teams. You got to look at, you know, uh, the process. Like they're still going to keep like I'm sure the same selection process. You know, head to head competitions, and you mentioned strength of schedule. How strong do you think is the Pac-12 strength of schedule right now? Because I mean, it's still, in my opinion, like I remember Washington made the playoffs one year, and it seems like they've just fallen off. Oregon's still pretty strong. Utah came up last year, seems to have some high hopes for this year. Is it strong right now? Like, is it strong enough? Is it not?
It's really hard to gauge because for Pac-12 fans, yes, the conference for us is it's deep, really. Like you can have the worst team in the Pac-12 competing with the top team in the Pac-12, but the non-conference, win losses and the bowl seasons last couple of years especially have not been great. So it's really hard. That makes it really hard to gauge. I mean, when you look at non-conference and bowl game and you go, well, the Pac-12 has a losing record.
Yeah.
That makes the Pac-12 look bad. So those are some of those things that's really hard to gauge. I'd say it's still pretty good. I mean, not Pac-12 teams aren't like out there getting just completely blown out in a lot of these games. I mean, it's not like we're doormats, but you've got to have it proven on the field. You've got to get those wins. And I think that's one area the conference has to really step up is the non-conference and bowl game wins.
That makes sense. And speaking of, I mean, you mentioned the conference having to step up. If I could get my computer to load this real quick, hold on. I'm having difficulties.
Technology.
Yeah, it sucks. It's acting like this. Hold on.
Okay, you froze, but I'm like, okay, I still hear you, so you're still there.
Okay. I'm trying to pull up oh, there we go. Now it's cooperating. I was trying to pull up the power rankings for the Pac-12. I found some on SI.com.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I as I wait for this, I mean, if you can still hear me real quick. Yeah. So this year, I am high on Utah. I don't think Oregon falls. But who's next after those two teams? Because you always have teams that are in there like Arizona State that could make some noise. You got Washington. How would you assess, I guess, the standings right now or going into the season? What can we expect?
Well, obviously, I think the three favorites are definitely Oregon, Utah, and USC. Those are the three favorites in the Pac-12. Washington, I think, will have a bounce back after the Jimmy Lake short era that didn't go so well. And I think they are moving in the right direction. They got a great new hire. And why can I never remember this guy's name? I don't know why. I can never remember his name. Fresno State coach last year. Kalen DeBoer. Yeah. Washington will take a step, I think, with Kalen DeBoer. Washington State is actually kind of hard to assess. Dicker's done a great job as the coach there from taking over for Rolovich after he got fired or let go. And then they brought in that transfer quarterback from Incarnate Word. Yes, Incarnate Word. Shout out Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
They brought in that quarterback who is absolutely ridiculous. Oh God, what is my Cameron Ward? Yes, who I think he threw like 47 touchdowns last year, and he lit the FCS on fire last year. So, and his head coach there is now the OC at Washington State. So, I don't think they're going to drop a whole lot. They're not going to drop off too much. They're going to continue to roll together. And so, Washington State's always tricky. To be honest, I think you still have your top three: USC, Oregon, Utah, and then you can say the power rankings. The worst of the worst is Arizona, not Arizona State, but Arizona, the Wildcats. But they weren't doormats last year. They fought hard, and they actually did really good in the recruiting and transfer this year, this offseason. So I think they're going to take a step forward this year, and I think they're going to surprise some people. So
now, yeah, I was going to say, I think they could take a step forward too. Does anyone really take a step back? Because Colorado here in these power rankings is 11. What about a team like that? Is everyone just moving up and maybe the bottom half of the Pac-12 doesn't really change much in power rankings or anything?
I don't know. I mean, power rankings, I think they'll go off a lot of, last season's record more than anything. It's not even, sometimes they don't even look at the projection because, I mean, again, look at Arizona and then like Colorado. Arizona was 1-11. Colorado was 4-8. Does that mean the rest of the losses were just blowouts? No, they were like punching people in the face and taking them to like the late in the fourth quarter. I mean, they weren't just getting stomped. So I mean, Colorado could make some noise. Now they're in their is this the second year with their coach? So consistency, I think, will be the big one because Tucker was there for the one season, then he left to take Michigan State. Yeah. So maybe this is the guy. Oh, this is I guess Colorado's third year with their coach. His third year, because 2020 they kind of surprised everyone, and then last year they kind of had that fall off year with 4-8. So sometimes it's hard to judge or gauge certain teams because you just don't know what they're going to do. Colorado didn't recruit super well this offseason, though, I don't think.
Yeah, I got you. A team that's in the Pac-12 went 8-5 last year, 6-3 in the conference. Arizona State. Now, they are a team that can produce some interesting talent to the NFL. They lost Jaden Daniels to LSU. They lose their best linebacker in Eric Gentry, as I'm reading here, defensive lineman Jermaine Loyal, and receiver Ricky Pearsall. Arizona State's just losing a lot of talent. They went 8-5 last year. This is a team I'm sure that we're expecting to fall off quite a bit, right?
Well, yeah, and then the different firings or releases of their certain coaches due to the NCAA investigation for the 2020 recruiting thing. So yeah, Arizona State's really hard to figure out right now. Like they have some talent, but even in the recruiting ranks, they were 12th in the Pac-12 recruiting. And I think a lot of that was the changeover in coaching or potential sanctions that may be looming. We don't know what's going to happen yet with that still that I'm aware. So Arizona State's really hard to figure out too. Arizona schools are nightmares to all of the Pac-12.
Yeah, I got you. What about Stanford? I'm reading here. It's been quite the fall for the Cardinals since the days when they had Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey. That's a team that's always interesting there. David Shaw's, he's I think he's just been so sitting right there. I don't know if he's the best coaching decision that they could have made. They went 3-9 last year. They went 2-7 in Pac-12 play. They were 122nd in their total offense, and they were 114 in total defense, respectively. What about that team there? Because, I mean, Stanford's always a preseason, not favorite, but they always start out great. They don't finish the right way.
Yeah, I like David Shaw. He's got a lot of class. I mean, and that's a generic word to throw around. I got it. Everyone says that about David Shaw, I think. But Stanford is always that unique case. They're a pain in everyone's side. You said 2-7 in the conference. Well, they got Clay Helton finally fired from USC after running all over them, and then they beat us. So, Stanford always does that to people. And it's so hard to figure out Stanford. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get power run game. They've recruited really well, though, this year. This offseason. They were number one in the conference for a while in recruiting until Oregon took over the number one spot. But Stanford's right there. I think David Shaw has probably a couple more years. If he can't get back to like winning again, like I'd say consistent, like 7 win. I'm not talking like conference even, but like consistently, David Shaw is going to be getting
that seat's going to be hot.
Yeah, he's going to get toasty down there for him, I think, because the fan base isn't even showing up to their games, unfortunately, anymore either. I mean, it's California, so they're still dealing with some of their restrictions. Maybe this year will be lightened. I think that's been some of the fanfare issue, but it's been going down over the years, unfortunately. So I think the administration will be putting a little pressure on him.
The team that surprised me last year was Oregon State, who went 7-6 out of nowhere. And that's not a team that we always look at and boast about. Like, we boast about Oregon, of course, your team and their rival. But is this a team that's going in the right direction? Was that just a one-time season where they made a bowl game? What's going on with the Beavers?
Oh no, the Beavers have been on the rise for a couple years now, especially with Jonathan Smith. He played Oregon State. He knows it. He's been building it. It's the record hasn't necessarily been showing exactly what's going on with that team, but they're feisty. Last year they made a push to come back and almost try to beat us in the Civil War, and they're getting better, and they've got the 6th best recruiting class right now in the Pac-12
for next year.
Yeah, for this upcoming 22. So they're not doing too bad. I mean, he's doing it. It's people say Corvallis is hard to recruit to. I don't necessarily buy into that 100%. I think if people want to go to school, they're going to go there. So he's been doing really good. I don't know how many transfers, though. I don't know his transfers that he's gotten this year. But all their commitments look like 3 stars. But, I mean, hey, that's solid. That's depth. It's good depth. I mean, that's something Oregon State, I think, was missing for the last few years with depth. Their key transfer was actually a running back from Georgia Tech. That's right, Griffin from Georgia Tech is their main transfer that they have, which I don't know if they need another good running back. They've got a couple of them. But, I mean, if you can get them, get them. So Oregon State, no one needs to be, everyone should be a little worried about playing Oregon State, especially at home, because I think the fan base is starting to feel it. They're feeling that their strength coming back. So,
and those are teams in college football. Like I say all the time, I'm an Alabama fan, so I know what it's like to see my team win. But at the same time, as great as that is, you want to see teams like in Oregon State. You wish the bottom feeders would start to get better and see some chaos like that. And it seems like they're going in a good direction. Not that they're going to be playoff contenders years down the road. I mean, they could, but for right now, I mean, this seems like one of those teams that's definitely on the rise that we need to keep an eye on.
No, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, then that's how a lot of the Pac-12 teams are. It seems like some of them have been dormant for a while, and they're just slowly starting to creep back up, and they're going to get relevant again. How relevant? That'll come by the win losses.
Yeah. You got number 4 USC, who went 4-8 last year. They got a new head coach in Lincoln Riley, which actually I do want to talk about that. This is a rhetorical question because I think it was an amazing hire. It's a tough loss for Oklahoma. Is Lincoln Riley the guy to ultimately end the Pac-12 playoff drought? Because, like I said, we haven't had a team in there since 2016. Is USC the next team there? And is Lincoln Riley the guy that could get them there?
It's definitely possible. I mean, you can't deny his regular season win record while at Oklahoma, but then he gets in the playoff and gets absolutely destroyed. So. And now we're talking different competition, obviously, in the Pac-12. So it will be very interesting to see exactly how he handles the Pac-12. Now, he did bring Alex Grinch with him, the defensive coordinator from Oklahoma, who was formerly at Washington State under Mike Leach. So Grinch is familiar with Pac-12 offenses a bit, but teams have changed. Those offenses have, they've changed. So I don't know if Grinch is the one that will make him take the next step just because now they're at USC. So time will tell, obviously. This year, I don't know what to expect. I would say at least USC is going to go 8-4, at least, if not 9-3, at least this year.
Yeah.
So year 2 or 3, that's when I think you're going to start hearing the USC faithful putting pressure if they don't take that step. That's the USC crowd,
And you got to think too, I think Caleb Williams is a sophomore, and they also brought over Mario Williams, who went over with Caleb and Coach Riley from Oklahoma. So not only did they bring in some good transfers, and they've always been pretty solid on the defensive side of the ball too. These guys are going to stick around for an extra year or so. So, I mean, you imagine if they go 8-4, 9-3 a year or two from now, they could actually be competing for something. And Lincoln Riley can say, it wasn't just at Oklahoma where I, didn't play much competition. No, this is who I am as a coach. This is what I can do. This is what I can build. I can build this type of program. There's a lot to look forward to if you're a Trojan fan.
Oh yeah, no, I do applaud USC for once just actually going big.
Yeah,
the coach, they said we're done with this internal hiring. We're gonna go make a splash, and they did. So props to them for all in the administration committing to we need to be a winning football team. So props to them on that. Now you just have to see if the results match the hype.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, they took Travis Dye from Oregon.
Yeah. That's a tough loss for you guys, but you do credit the Trojans. Like, what a steal that is.
We don't play them this year in the regular season, so unless we meet in the game, that also might have been part of the factor. He doesn't have to play against us, his old team. So, but good luck to Travis, and they went all in. Can't fault them for that. And they've got a great recruiting class. And like you said, they brought in a lot of good transfers. So, like Jordan Addison, come on. He should.
Traveling Fool says Beavers are greater than the Tide.
they might be. I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah, but one of these teams, like an Oregon or a USC, is going to end the Pac-12 playoff drought. Someone's going to get in there again at some point, and probably even, I mean, for all we know, maybe make it to a championship. I don't know, but there's if you're a USC fan, even if you're an Oregon fan, which I didn't make a banner for this, but how do you feel about Bo Nix?
I definitely didn't love it at first. I mean, because most of the Oregon fans, we want to see Ty Thompson or even Jay Butterfield, who have been there for a couple of years. We want to see them get the nod. But then I watched the spring game and I was like, Nix looks pretty good.
Yeah, he does.
He looks pretty good. And then it makes sense with our offensive coordinator, who was his OC at Auburn his first year. So I kind of get the connection. Now the offenses will be different, but I get that connection where similar things match up, where they're just comfortable with each other. But yeah, Thompson just still didn't look 100% there. He didn't look ready. He looked kind of nervous, and Nix looked good. So I'm going to trust the coaches.
Yeah, and speaking of, I asked this question overall. I know we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but your full assessment on Dan Lanning, is he set up for great success? Because you can have success, but right now, is it set up that he's still going to be? He's probably not going to do what Cristobal did, but is he set up for great success at Oregon, or just a little bit? Is it like, what's he walking into?
Well, he's walking into a great situation, just kind of like Lincoln Riley. USC said, "We're all in. Here you go." Well, that's how Oregon's really relatively been. Maybe they're not the power boosters, even though we have Phil Knight, whatever, but they're not like some schools with money or whatever. But Oregon's all in with football. Phil Knight especially, he wants a natty. I mean, he's been wanting that for 12 plus years, 20 plus years easily. So, I mean, he's set up for success, I think. And then I think he got a lot of great coaches, a lot of great assistants, other people, not just himself, to help to do recruiting. Like, he got people that know how to recruit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why he drug and the coaches drug our recruiting class out of literally the abyss when Cristobal left. And he brought it up to, like, I think it was number 13 overall, something like that, nationally for 2022. I mean, it literally, it dove into the low 50s, and he drug it like out of the garbage. So I think he's all in. First year, we're going to have to see. I do have some high expectations, but obviously I'm not delirious either. So I'm not, or delusional. So I think a good 8-4, 9-3, I think is very possible, but we'll see. I'm not expecting playoff, obviously. But I think he's set up for success, and the administration is clearly behind him. They wanted someone young, younger, kind of fresh, whole, just
long
different
term.
But hopefully. We're kind of getting tired of everyone leaving after 2 or 3 years at this point, which hasn't really happened that much. It just feels like it has been now. So with Taggart leaving, and then obviously Cristobal, you can't fault him, alma mater. But so yeah, I think Lanning's set up for success. And the first year, we'll see how that goes, and then see what adjustments are made. Because right now, it's still kind of a little bit of a mystery overall. We don't know what the offense exactly is going to be, except for a pro style hurry up.
Yeah, and it seems. Yeah, I was just going to bring up too. I found this article. It seems like he's reaching out and getting the recruiting trail just on top of it. This is his territory. Parker Meese is a 2025 linebacker. I mean, he's reaching out years in advance here for quite a few different positions, but especially on the defensive side of the ball. His success recruiting, I say, is and I've heard a lot of people say this, and we talked about it yesterday, it's the bloodline of college football. It's a very big deal. What about his recruiting right now since he's been there?
I think he's done really well. Again, we just talked about it just briefly there, where, I mean, our whole recruiting class like this year was in the garbage, and he pulled it just out of the dumpster and got us some 5 stars. We got our 5-star offensive tackle. We got our 4-star wide receiver. We have, obviously we got some good transfers too this year, which is helpful for, short-term depth. It's people that come in, plug and play. Because the one thing he did when he came in, he said, hey, we're going to fit our team to the players we have. Because, of course, they're not his players. So he wants to utilize everyone. But recruiting-wise, I think he's knocked it out of the park. I have no complaints with the recruiting. And, yeah, he's going after big names. He's not shying away from it. He's like, hey, Tennessee, you're after this guy. Alabama, you're after this guy. Georgia, you're after this guy.
Yeah. I'm looking right now. I see a guy from Conroe, Texas. He's going coast to coast with this.
Yeah, he's not shying away. I think he's looking at what Mario did, which is kind of a little bit of what Kirby did with Georgia, and what if you don't reach out to people, you don't know.
Right.
Because there are Florida kids, there are Georgia kids who would love to go to Oregon if they got an offer. But if you don't go talk to those kids or reach out to them, who's going to know? So why not shoot for the top? Why not?
Yeah, and that's one of those programs too that, it's not a down program. It is a great program at Oregon. But because they're not on the spotlight of college football completely, like they're not the Alabama, they're not Georgia, they're not Clemson, right? They're not exactly tier 1. So that's the kind of program where you have to go after the kids instead of that sitting back on the sidelines hoping that they're going to pick Oregon, because that's obviously Dan Lanning's got to do his part to recruit very, very well and make connections, make phone calls, recruit some high school athletes. He's got to do that and start it there and show why they should want to choose Oregon on their own.
Well, exactly. Especially first year, brand new coach, like head coach, at new school, new OC, new DC, new staff completely. You've got to show the kids and make them want to come and say, you're the next step. You're the missing piece that could take this to that level. And I think he's done really well. I mean, yeah, like you said, he's reaching out to people a couple of years down the road already.
Yeah.
Looking at people. And will that stick? I don't know. But, I mean, he's already looking ahead and going, okay, we can start filling this and this. And that's a lot of planning. But that's also a good showing of a good staff evaluating maybe. Obviously, we'll see how that plays out. But for like this year, especially, and even going into next year, I think they've done a great job recruiting right now. No issues.
I like what I'm hearing there. I mean, that's one of those teams I pull for too. I want to see the teams like Oregon or USC, rise up and get further along in college football. And again, I mentioned I'm an Alabama fan. I'll take every title you give us, but like it would just be cool to see a team like Oregon just take the next step, because right now they're a great program. That's a great place to go for college football if you're a college athlete. That's a great environment. That's a good team to go win a Pac-12 title for, go compete, play for a Rose Bowl, or whatever. But it's just sitting there. It's kind of sitting still. And I remind people, Mario Cristobal did not get fired. He was nowhere near a hot seat. It's a tough loss that he went to Miami, but that's not saying that Dan Lanning can't be that next guy to maybe help push it forward.
Well, exactly. And that's why I said he walked into a great situation. That's probably part of the reason why he, of course, said, of course, I'll take this job, because he knows he went into an administration that's backs football. He's walking into a program that is, yeah, exactly. It's nowhere near like rebuilding or anything. It's on the cusp of getting somewhere for several years. Again, it's just he's just got to continue the process and then make it his own. And I think he can. Again, we'll see. Obviously, you can't there's no way to predict or judge a coach before his first game, and his first game has to be against Georgia, of course. Neutral site my ass. Sorry.
It's fine. I keep forgetting you guys open with Georgia. That's actually going to be a very big one.
As long as we keep it close. Like even last year with Ohio State, it was like, hey, we keep it close. We lose by a touchdown or a field goal or something. I'll be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So winning last year, of course, was huge. But as long as we keep it close, because everyone still says we're going to get drug up and down the field by Georgia, that's fine.
Yeah.
They can take that. As long as we keep it close, I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, I gotcha. I've kind of run through everything that I had for you. The only other thing is it Oregon this year. I'm going with Utah, but who do you think wins the Pac-12 this year?
Oof, so tough.
I think it's going to be a close race, though. I will say that. I do think there is going to be some competition. I like Cam Rising in the Utes this year. That's my pick. But Dan Lanning, first year, he's got I remind people, Bo Nix was a 5-star recruit and a good quarterback at Auburn pre-injury. I mean, he wasn't too bad. I think the coaching around him was kind of an issue. Let me put it to you this way. What does Oregon have to do to secure a title?
The defense has to show up, and then the offense has to be more creative. I really think that Joe Moorhead under Mario Cristobal did good as the OC, but I think Cristobal has fingers in the offense a lot. And that kind of held us back. He wanted to run, screen, and then sprinkle in some fancy stuff here and there. And with Lanning, he doesn't want to control the offense.
Right.
Let the OC be the OC. Let him call the plays. Let him formulate the game plan with some assistance from Lanning, of course, some input. I want to be a homer and say Oregon will, but I have to lean that it'll probably be USC or Utah.
Oh, okay.
I will lean that way. I'm leaning more Utah because of the experience of the team. They have Rising. Whittingham is an amazing coach. He's always been good. He's had his ups and downs, but he's always been a consistent coach. The thing with Utah is that they always screw up the first couple games. That seems to be where they have their issues, the first 2 or 3 games, but those are the non-con. So that doesn't affect the Pac-12 standing. That just affects their national standing. So they open with Florida at the Swamp this year. So
yeah.
And that's against new coach Billy Napier there. So that'll be an interesting test.
Yeah.
For both teams.
It'll be a big test, especially for Florida, because like I said, I'm picking Utah to win the conference this year. If Florida at least keeps it a 1-score, 1-possession game, that'll be huge.
I think the odds are Florida by 7.
Oh, really?
I think that's what the odds are right now. Now they already could have changed a week later. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to the lines like that because I'm not a betting person in football. Because if I bet, that team will lose, and I'm sorry to them for betting on them. But yeah, I think Florida's favored right now. But it'll be interesting. It will definitely be interesting. And we're 90 some days away.
Yeah, getting closer.
I don't have the count in front of me. 93 something days. I don't have it, so I'd have to look at that. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Utah or USC for the Pac-12 championship to win it or compete against each other as the top 2 teams. But we'll see. Obviously, we have no idea how that will work because Oregon doesn't play USC, and we're not doing divisions. So, but I'm going to lean one of those 2 teams.
I think that's what it'll end up being, and it wouldn't surprise. I don't think it should. I don't want to say it will or won't because obviously you just never know, but I don't think it should surprise people if it is Lincoln Riley in his first year, right? Because, I mean, he practically won the Big 12. But the Big 12 is down and terrible. Well, maybe so, but who who's to say that he wasn't that kind of coach that he was able to win the Big 12 on a consistent basis?
Well, and that's a good point. I mean, and you look at I'm trying to think of who USC has out of conference right now. I know obviously they have Notre Dame, but I guess that's their main out of conference game is Notre Dame, which is not going to be easy. Lincoln Riley's never really faced that, but so just say there's one loss, but that doesn't affect the conference still. So
it doesn't.
I don't think he's going to have an issue, and the schedule didn't change. Even though we got rid of divisions, the schedule is still remaining the same, at least for this first year without divisions. So he's mostly playing UCLA, Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado. So I don't see why he couldn't at least compete for the title this year. I really don't.
Me either. I would agree with you there. I've ran through everything I had for you, man. Is there anything that maybe you wanted to mention, didn't mention about the Pac-12 this year that maybe some people might be interested in knowing?
Everyone stop talking crap about the Pac-12, all right? We're like 1A and 1B allegedly with the ACC.
Right?
Allegedly. I don't know. I don't know how that works, especially like Clemson, 10-3, and that was a bad season. Like, that's not a bad
season. We did the ACC yesterday, and I had my uncle on who's a big-time Clemson fan, and he said, you guys just don't know all the bad seasons that, like 10-3. You know how many teams have tried and tried for a 10-win season that would kill to have that?
Yeah.
Stop complaining.
Yeah, last year didn't end the way we wanted to. Obviously, we fell on a roll through the season for the most part, and then to collapse kind of at the end like that. But yeah, other teams would give anything.
I'm surprised Alabama made the national championship. I know that's crazy to say, but going into the season, I thought we would take a big step back because of what we lost from 2020. I'm not complaining that Georgia beat us 33-18 with a Keely Ringo pick. Anyway, I mean,
Alabama fans, blah 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 blah. Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, most teams would. Most fan bases would kill for a consistent or every even other year 10-win season.
Yeah,
they would kill for. Look at poor Georgia Tech. Arizona, for fuck's sake. Damn it. I've been watching my mouth so hard. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Everyone stop crapping on the Pac-12. We're coming for you. We're coming.
I got it. I understand. Hey, I appreciate you coming on today. That's pretty much all I had, and I'll let you get the final word. You guys know what to do. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media. Ben, where can they find you?
They can find me on my page. It is literally my screen name. Here on YouTube. That's primarily where I go. It's just Exploring with Ben and Sam. YouTube.com/Exploring with Ben and Sam, or just search Exploring with Ben and Sam. We have a bunch of channels. We have the channel up. We have a lot of videos. We have new stuff coming out every week and a half to 2 weeks, depending on our availability and then our traveling for doing other stuff. So we appreciate anyone checking us out. If you subscribe and like, appreciate that too. But definitely subscribe to Ballard and check out his stuff.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yep. You guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe for more sports content. We love you. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. I'll say roll tide from a Bama fan.